We're recording.
It's recording.
Okay, so page 28, well, you'll see almost no change. The only contributions will stay at 5,000. We used to give to the 27 committee, which isn't in function anymore. So the 5,000 goes to the governor's military committee, which we get absolutely no help from. But that's something we probably need to start talk to our state legislature about. I mean, it's non-functional. I don't even know why they have a budget, but they do. So that's I think the contribution.
There's one other change, the transfer to the Sister Cities project.
Oh, yeah.
CVB is handling that, the Sister Cities projects now, so we didn't include that in this
So
department.
that'll be
Makes sense.
yeah, just do transient guest tax on that. Commercial travel and lodging is the mayor to Washington DC every year. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Any questions or comments on the city commission budget?
One thought I'd like to float, and maybe not necessarily for this year, but at least for thought, once every 5, 8, 10 years, whatever it is, we have raised the city commission salary, if you will. And of course, if you went from like $400 to $500, headline reads in the font the size that says Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. City commission raises salaries 25%. Commissioners raise their salary 25%. But if we would tie the city commissioner salaries into the annual increase of the regular employees, the 2.25%, this automatically rolls and it takes the politics and the political football out of the deal. Because I'll guarantee you in the next 5, 6 years, long after I'm gone, you know, it's going to be time they have to raise it another $100 or $150, and it's just everybody's so scared of it. But I think it's the right thing to do. But that's a thought that it just rolls in automatically. So.
Well, look at the county commission. Half of the candidates, when they were running, said, "Yeah, we'll just divide this by the number of commissioners that we've got, and we'll take a reduction." I haven't seen a reduction
Oh,
yet.
and you have to see more.
Hey, you're not going to.
Yeah, yeah,
No, you're not.
good.
And one of the ones that got elected said he would not cut his salary, so they elected him anyway.
That's just a thought, and
That's cool.
I don't know. I think you'd get some people on the other side might criticize that approach. I understand where you're coming from, but, and I don't think I was on the commission. You dealt with that, I think, in 2017. I don't know. I mean, as often as it comes up, it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't come up all that often. I think I'm more comfortable with, I don't know.
come up every 8, 9 years.
Yeah,
10 years.
whatever, 5 years or, I mean, that's just a
If
personal.
you're ever on the commission
Right.
and it does come up, it's heated. I mean, not heated. You know, social media becomes weaponized against it. All
Yeah,
this,
Yeah, I think just any way tying it to what's happening as far as the city manager and his, I think there's some drawback. There could be some criticism about that too.
Oh, there can be criticism on everything.
Yeah, and so, because we are elected versus, you know.
Well, we could look at what other communities do, what other communities pay them, did that at the county level, but
And
At
I
the
think
city
some
level,
do
we
it,
could look at
they
that.
do it all
Most
different ways.
everybody that I'm aware of does it kind of ad hoc, kind of we do. It's been a long time since we've had an increase. Let's look at that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
just, okay.
Okay.
See if there's anything there. Any other thoughts?
no, this looks good.
On that one?
Yeah, what are we doing on that one?
I don't know. I mean.
Nothing.
it's
I didn't.
no-
I
noted.
didn't. I didn't see nothing.
No,
All right, gotcha.
Nothing.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
noted,
Yeah,
noted.
I guess.
Okay.
City manager budget. You'll see same small increases. Again, my position wasn't included in the compensation classification because I'm not in the city's pay plan like that. So Taylor's paid partially from a couple different funds. He's paid out of economic development 20%, CVB 20%, and then manager's budget because he oversees the operations and guides those
Good.
divisions. And then, lodging, commercial travel and lodging, that's Taylor and I each to ICMA, each year, and then, me to the Association of Defense Communities.
Your travel to
then to
DC is on the
DC.
city commission budget.
No, my travel to DC isn't here,
Is it here or is here?
is here.
Okay.
And,
Yes.
your travel is in the other one. And then, professional services contract went down, is that web hosting
That's for the
fees?
website. It's a much reduced fee,
Good.
because we paid up front for all the design, so now the ongoing fee of the website is, I think, $6,000 a year. So, and then we have a couple other things, and we eliminated, our videographer contract.
So that's in the revenue line at the very top. We used to bring in 5,000. We shared with, Nick Shale with the school board. We paid out 10,000 and the school board reduced us 5. We eliminated that contract. We just didn't get the video content, that we paid for on that. So,
Okay.
there's a corresponding reduction in expense along with that reduction in revenue.
Why did auto allowance go down?
So we shifted more of mine to,
Did it-
CC.
Oh, you put it in a
percentage.
different,
Yeah.
okay.
Good,
So-
good deal. That looks good.
Go ahead and do legal services on the next page. That one's been a little bit of a moving target since we did such the big shift from Tom to David Waters. We had a little bit of litigation with the county, then we've had some different stuff. So we're trying to find our sweet spot on that. I still think David does a very good job of keeping his expenses to reasonable amounts and reasonable time. We get detailed billings every month. We do also charge those off if he's working on something related to an economic development project that's charged to those funds. So
Good.
this is the general fund stuff, but we've been very happy with the service and the costs that we've been able to keep at a pretty good minimum. Our contract with David is below his market rate. We do pay market rate for any other, we've used the personnel lawyer, litigation lawyer through his firm, and those are at market rate, and then David's at a decreased amount for a contract. So
Does this include Tom Dawson, city, or the court services?
that's a separate contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the name of David's firm again?
Lathrop and Gage.
He just got recognized recently too, didn't he?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yep, he was in Ingram's, what was it, 40 under 40?
And
Or
he's the
50
mayor
under
of
50.
50 under
Westwood,
50.
Kansas.
Well, he will be.
He will be in November. He's the only one that filed, and so he'll become the mayor of Westwood.
Whoa, that's cool. Okay, looks good.
Civil defense on the next page, these are just sort of these really small, kind of obscure things. This is the amount of money we pay to upkeep the closed landfill. Is that civil defense?
No, civil defense is like emergency management.
Oh, our portion of
The- yeah.
the county.
County
emergency.
emergency management.
Yeah, I can't remember, what was the name of the one that we,
Oh,
Refuse restricted.
refuse
restricted
restricted
is
is the small
land.
one that we do the
Yeah.
landfill. Next, page 32 this is the city manager's contingency. This has been all over the board. It was $100,000 years ago. We went down to 25,000 during the recession. We bumped it back up to 50. This comes into, really anything. We cut down, some diseased trees from the campground that was $8,500 and we didn't have that anywhere. That'd be a contingency thing. It's a lot of times it was designed for small engineering studies or stuff like that. We paid for the commission's trip to Guantanamo Bay during that whole big thing when we were allowed to go with Representative Jenkins. Just sort of things, unbudgeted things that don't require getting into the reserve. I'm usually we don't just spend it to spend it. And usually I think we don't have the estimated through this year, but I think I've spent less than $5,000 of that, far less. And kind of just as needed,
Yeah.
on those.
The campground that's closed.
Yeah.
How have you announced? Have you made a
It's on the
decision?
commission meeting Tuesday night.
Good.
The decision.
Do you have a ballpark on how much it costs to clean that out right now?
We do it all internally, so it's hard to come up with a ballpark figure on that.
Once again, that'd be another good thing for transient gas tax, in my opinion. because that's tourism.
It is.
Yeah, so, yeah, hire somebody to do it, and we can have the other people mowing grass, or whatever.
Not a bad idea.
With the flooding that we've had this year though, and two major floodings, Landing Park, Riverfront, Park, 3 Mile Creek Trail. I mean, are you finding it okay to go look in the budget and get the money, or should there be a
So
separate,
this
like,
is the,
account
this is
for
the
it?
first year that we have sort of, exercised or used all of our any slack
Yeah,
that
right.
was at all in the budget, plus a little bit of contingency. I sent the commission a note in like
Right.
March that we had sort of hit our overtime limits, and that's just a manifestation
Right.
of the work we did with sandbags. So, yeah, and so the contingency right now is sort of the last line of defense if we had to. If we have something else happen, we have to buy more sandbags, it's either reserves or contingency. There's no more operating dollars left. There's no more operating staff dollars left for overtime, for evening stuff. There's no more money in the parks, the parks operating to hire somebody to go clean out the service, or hire an electrician, or hire a plumber, because those campground sites have plumbing and they have electricity. So we eat through that really fast.
Guest tech.
Yeah, for maybe the park,
Yeah.
but the 3 Mile Creek
Yeah, I
Trail,
know.
and the park, I mean, our Parks and Rec director was in a Bobcat doing the work. And there's
That's
nothing
what's
wrong
up.
with that, but that's where we are with some of that stuff is,
Yeah.
you know, that stuff's real expensive. You think it's little, but if
No,
you
no,
hire
it's-
somebody to do it, probably 10 grand.
Oh, yeah,
To,
please.
to bring the Bobcats down, so.
Mobilize it.
Absolutely, that it just, I won't say nickels and dimes you, but you get to your max within your operating budget quickly.
And all I'm saying is that, I don't know, I'm not sure that this year is gonna be an anomaly in terms of these extreme weather events. So, all I'm saying from the standpoint of tracking the money and accounting for it, and saying, you know, being able to say, this is what's happened because of these.
We,
Extreme weather
within our
events.
department, we set up a project to track flood-related expenses, and so we are tracking that. It doesn't help alleviate the budgeting, but
No,
we
no,
are
no.
tracking what those
Yeah.
expenses are, so.
And we've been, I think Steve will know better, I think 6 of the last 10 years, the campground's flooded
Yeah.
and closed for a portion of the year. Twice this year, obviously, for the rest of the year. Okay, so then we get into clerks. We're 4 minutes away from the library, so I hesitate to go any farther, but we got quite a few. So if Matt's here, is he out in the
Yeah.
library?
Yeah, he's
Okay,
here.
go ahead and get him and get started, since we have the exterior agencies.
Then we keep everybody on schedule.
Yeah, we go 1 to 120, 120, 140, and 140 to 2.
And
And
Brandon's
Steve's-
the
Steve-
sergeant of arms, he cuts them off.
It's a time clock. And then Steve at 2.
You have a stun gun there, Brandon?
Disguises.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
We don't have a line here.
I don't think it's on
No.
here.
Yeah, I mean, that has the minutes.
It's not in here.
Is the library in here?
No.
So, Matt, if you just want to.
So do you have any printed or written information at all to look at?
No,
No, we didn't. I thought you had handouts last year, Matt, that's why I didn't put anything in there.
We can make some, run some copies real quick.
looks like he's got something
Looks
for
like he
us.
came prepared.
He came prepared.
Are you a Boy Scout, Matt?
No. I did carry a troop master out of a Holden Arboretum after he had a hernia. They were about
That counts.
8, 9-year-old
counts.
boys. 30 years later, we still refer to the man as Hearn. Actually, 50 years later. Well, I don't know if any of the information that I just gave you is relevant, because I just got some news as I walked in the building, in an email this morning about our funding that I was completely unprepared for. The amount that we bring to the city, our estimate of revenues, is based on the best information that we have at hand. So apparently, I did not ask for as much as the 3.75 mil rate would collect. And the decision was made to collect the full amount for the general fund revenue, provide as much as I asked for in the general fund, and divert the rest to the employee benefits fund. And that came as a complete and total surprise to me. So I guess the issue that I have with the information that I literally just learned about is that if I had known our collection, that the amount that would be generated by the full 3.75 would be this amount, I would have asked for that amount. I, however, did not know that. Again, I worked on the best estimates that we had at the time. The library has been spending surplus money now. This will be the third straight year. And this year we were looking at spending as much as $107,000 of our surplus revenue. Now, according to the information I just received, the amount that the 3.75 mils would generate is about $40,000 or so more than I anticipated. I think that should go into our general fund. I don't think that should be diverted to our EBF. We are already spending more than our general fund money is generating. We know that going in. We know that we need to do that in order to meet the needs of the community, in order to provide the collections and the services that provides the community with what they deserve. And if this amount, this excess, again, that I did not ask for because I was not aware of, it goes into the employee benefits fund. Sure, we can spend $107,000 from our reserves, but if that amount of money was left to go into the general fund, which it was intended to be used for and it was collected for, that would reduce the amount of money of our excess funds that we would have to spend this year. I mean, our board knows that asking for an increase in our mill rate is not the thing to do when we have excess revenues. And they haven't, again, decided to spend them. But I was very surprised to hear that, you know, an additional $40-some thousand that I wasn't aware was going to be collected is not in this budget intended for a general fund. It'll be used to offset employee benefit fund costs.
Let me ask some questions. What's the total mill levy for the library? Isn't it 4 something?
It's 3.75.
3.75, but
Plus
there's
employee benefits.
plus
So-
employee
and
benefits
that
of
fluctuates. It fluctuates based on employee benefit.
okay, but this year it's approximately 0.5 for employee benefits?
No,
It's 1.08.
1.08.
Yeah, it had been about 0.8 something. Last year it was increased to 1.229.
Okay, so the total amount is 4.83, of which 1.08 is that, and then 3.75 times 212,000 approximately.
It's 219 this year.
219,
2020, yeah.
okay, 219 times 3.75, so that's getting 821,000 is being collected, that's what's estimated. And how much did you budget for, Matt? 780,000, are you saying?
For general fund?
Yes,
General fund revenues, I budgeted 885,000.
885, and we're,
Well,
and
so
we're,
that's not the library's only source of revenue. They get
Motor
alcohol
vehicle.
tax, motor vehicle tax, and
And,
delinquent
delinquent
taxes.
taxes.
Yep, so it's.
And my estimate took all those into account. I was working
so
on the
that's why
best information I had.
okay, but the amount that you, when you did your budget, when you factored in how much you were gonna get from the mill levy, from ad valorem taxes, how much
Correct.
was that?
$885,000.
No, but that includes your motor.
Everything, yes.
No, but you're making the point saying 3.75, I didn't know that I could get all of that. So you must have broken it down, that you knew you had this much coming from motor vehicle, this much coming from the city, and this much coming from whatever the other parts are. How much did you,
I don't have that information in front of me.
and how do you know that you're shorted? I mean, you brought up now that you're shorted.
I just received this email this morning that shows ad valorem, or taxes, where ad valorem, back taxes, motor vehicle tax coming to $937,971. I just received that this morning. And I only asked for
Who
885.
provided that? Did we provide?
I sent him the email.
Okay.
And I don't have the breakdown with me, but that 885 is based on the best information that I had at hand about all of the general fund revenue sources, including motor vehicle.
How much did you, what was your budget last year?
For tax revenue,
The same, the 881,000 that you have for 2020, what was it for 2019?
the tax revenue estimate that I put in last year was 847,214.
Okay, so you brought it up $33,000 from last year?
Yes.
Approximately.
I was told to anticipate a 2% increase in ad valorem, and I included that. And I got an email that I don't have in front of me that gave me an estimate of what motor vehicle taxes would be. When I had that information in hand, that's when I prepared my budget for the library board of all of the general fund revenue coming in at 885.
Okay, then Ruby or Brandon, the 3.75 generates 821, and according to Matt, how much of that is actually going?
No,
to-
this report that I just received this morning, this says $937,971.
Just for that, for Warren is what you're.
Yeah, but that includes the 1.08, doesn't it?
No, that's the amount of ad valorem plus the motor vehicle and the delivery
Okay,
tax.
okay, but we have nothing to do with motor vehicle, or,
Right, the
I mean,
state-
that's all
the
county, state.
determines- You're right.
Okay, but of the 3.75, you say generates 823. I had 821, so okay, 823. How much of that is going to the library of that 823?
The entirety
All
of
of
that,
it.
yeah, the entirety of that 820.
So then what's Matt's point saying that he's shorted? I'm not understanding.
So,
You want me to explain it?
go ahead.
So all of it's going there, but some of it would be required to fill I don't know what the small gap would be in the employee benefits from the cost versus the mill that's being provided to cover that cost. So the library employee benefit at 1.080 could be, last year was 1.229, it could be 1.20, so that delta would be a transfer from the library fund to the library employee benefits fund. We went up, we had been deficit spending. I was looking back at 2018, the library, from direction from the commission, was spending down library employee benefit fund reserve for a couple years, and we were under at about 0.844 mils. And last year, I believe we right-sized it to eliminate the debts, and that's when it increased about 0.4 mil to 1.229, the library employee benefits fund. So that's kind of where we are.
That was a 1 year, and this year we're down to 1.08.
Right.
So I guess I'm unclear. Matt, you're saying you're shorted 40 grand approximately? Is that,
If the bottom line that I have in this report, and again, it's, some of it includes county property taxes, the motor vehicle tax, but that bottom line is considerably larger than what I asked for. And what I ask for on a tax revenue basis is, it takes all of the revenue into account.
okay, and if he, let's say he was authorized $1 million, I'm just gonna grab $1 million, but he only asked for $900,000. Does that mean he only gets 900,000, and where's the extra 100 grand go?
Well, in this case, that delta went to decrease the library employee benefits mill from 1.229 to 1.080. So he still gets it. It just would be required to cover the decrease in the library employee benefits budgeted mill. I know that's
Yeah, okay.
clear as mud, but.
So Richard, when we first started estimating, and Matt and I have conversations March and April about what our estimated positions are
Right.
going to be. And so Matt and I had a conversation about what we were going to estimate our assessed value change would be. In March and April, we assumed about a 2 to 2.5% increase in assessed valuation. And that's the number I gave him.
Sure.
Not because I had information that that's what it would be, but that was what my estimate, my personal estimation was. And we didn't receive notification about what the final assessed value was until June. And so when he put his budget together, he was basing that off of the 2.5% assessed valuation increase that I told him I was going to use for our estimation.
Okay, and next question, part of it, 3.75 for operating budget, 1.08 for employee benefits,
Yes.
at 4.83, that's a constant, or that's,
The
The-
3.75,
Is the only constant.
is the only constant. Now, 3.75 is 821, is all that 821 going to him?
Yes, but he's being required to take, let's pick a number, 40,000 of that and supplement his library employee benefits fund. What he would be essentially asking for is the library employee benefit fund to go back up to 1.229, so then he could transfer that benefit fund back to the general fund. That increases the overall city mill, but it was built off the first estimates of the project.
Well, we haven't finalized the budget, can we do that? Or what's the wisdom in doing that or not doing that?
so if I did, if I had turned things in the way, or had done that the way that he had presented his budget, then the library mill would have been less than 3.75. It would have been 3.5 or 3.25, something like that. And so all I did, because historically the city has levied the full 3.75 mills on behalf of the library. So all I did was generate the additional difference between the mill levy that he had requested and the 3.75, and then we offset the difference in the amount he requested for the employee benefit fund. We can put those back that way if that's what the commission chooses for us to do.
Because you don't have to go to 3.75.
You don't
We're
have to
saying
do the
The request would have been 3.6, so then we said, well, let's just do 3.7, then you don't have to, then you can reduce that by, because you can transfer from the library fund to the employee benefits fund.
What are the pros and cons of doing that?
So the pros and cons is this: once you have money in the employee benefit fund, it cannot be used for general
For
fund
operating
purposes.
funds, right.
So if by chance he doesn't need all of that amount in the employee benefit fund, it doesn't matter, that money has to stay there. But if he doesn't need that and that money's in his general fund, he can divert it to other
You can
uses.
transfer general fund to employee fund, but not vice versa.
Yes.
And so what are you saying, Matt, that
I would prefer to see general fund money go into the general fund to be used for general fund purposes, instead of using general fund money to offset employee benefit fund costs. Because we know we have and need every last cent of that 3.75 and more, because we're already eating into our reserves. I would hate to eat into those reserves to offset a cost that has nothing to do with general funds.
what are your reserves on employee benefit fund?
Nothing. We had a deficit last year. We spent general fund money on employee benefit funds last year.
So the other thing that the library can do or has done and change, and I'm not saying it's bad or good, is they don't get commission approval to change positions to full-time, to add positions. So that drives the employee benefit fund, which then drives up the city-supported or the city's portion of the mill levy. So when we have a small increase, last year when we kept the mill levy flat,
Right.
we actually decreased the city's mills because the library employee benefit mill went up. So we tried to offset that because the public doesn't look at it as 26.899 for the city and 4 point whatever. So we've been trying to we've dropped ours as theirs went up, and they've done a great job previous years spending down their reserves, which they had an employee benefit fund or whatever to do it. And the commission can do whatever they like. You asked the other downside, if you don't require that they take fund, and I wouldn't say that it's reserve or deficit funding, because it was based on the prepared budget. So if the prepared budget's followed, then there would essentially be a $40,000 extra, or $40,000 that was unbudgeted, but it would just increase the city's overall mill. So instead of a .018 reduction, you'd have a small millage increase.
So it wouldn't be nothing to change it.
I mean, you could certainly change it, it would just change the city's mill rate up a little bit.
So we can't redirect it. We got 4.83 right now. 4.83 mils is in the pot. And we've got it distributed 1.08 going to benefits, 3.75 to operating fund. Can we take operating fund up to 3.9 and?
No.
That's
You
not
could,
as
you could
satisfied
leave,
ordinance.
yeah, you could leave library fund at 3.750 and change the library employee benefit fund to 1.229 like they had last year.
Well, why can't they get 3.75 in the operating fund? That's the max, 823,000. And what's the problem with leaving it 1.08 is,
Because then that would require a portion of the 3.75, because he's saying his expenses are higher than 1.08. And so right now, it is correct that 40,000 would come from this down to the 1.08.
And originally, it's not like he's really getting less money, because his original budget that he turned in was less than what the 3.75 mils would have generated. So it's not that he's actually getting less than he requested. It would have been less than what the 3.75 would generate. That's the difference. And so rather than shifting all of that to the employee benefit fund, we budgeted the full 3.75 mils in the library general fund, because he can transfer money from the general fund to the employee benefit fund, but not the other
not
way.
vice versa, I know that.
Right.
Because I know we ran into an issue a couple years ago with that.
It makes no difference for the city's operations if the commission increases the library employee
I would
benefit.
suggest give him the additional money.
Yeah, that, I mean, that's
Because
just-
if he runs short in the other fund, he's gotta take it out of his general
yeah,
to
there's
cover
no,
it anyway.
there's no.
Can we do that transfer,
Yeah, it just makes
You
it more
too?
simple.
you guys work your magic, that the mill levy stays the same?
No, because you'd have to make a corresponding decrease in one of the city's mill levy funds, whether it's debt, which you can't, because debt's based on your obligation.
Right.
General fund, recreation, police and fire pension, one of those is gonna have to decrease the corresponding amount.
An employee benefit fund includes FICA,
Taxes.
Health insurance.
Is the big driver.
Capers.
and capers, and you've got your personnel, you know what your personnel staffing is going to be for 2020,
Yes.
and that's gonna cost you more than $235,000. Is that what you're saying?
For employee benefits, yes.
How much is it gonna cost you?
326.
326, but some of that is not paid by our mill levy, some is by motor.
It's capital improvement.
Yeah. I mean, the whole amount that is generated, the way we have it, the whole amount that's generated for the library general fund is $937,000. And the whole amount that's generated,
Benefits is 326.
and the amount that's generated for the employee benefits is $326. So,
But, and I won't put words in Matt's mouth, he can speak this, they don't want to use any of the motor vehicle or delinquent or any of the 3.75 at all on employee benefits. They want that all to go to the library fund, and then have that library employee benefits fund, whether it's 280, 290, 325, be the only thing that pays for health benefits. And that's something the commission can't control, it's based on the library's personnel and staff at the time.
Well, that makes sense. I'm in favor of changing it.
Raising the mill levy?
No, not at all.
Well, that's what it means,
That's
that's
the only thing
what he's saying.
That's the only option.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that
We're still
1.08,
saying
if it's 330-something thousand, then that's, you know, a mill and a half, so you'd be looking at a
That's
half a mil.
1.35 mils.
We're
What'd
still
you say,
saying
it's
negative,
326?
What's that?
We're still
Yes.
saying a negative increase,
We
correct?
wouldn't if we changed that.
So if we put the money back in the general fund for that,
If I take the difference out between what he requested
Right.
originally from his
Right.
budget, if I take that amount out from the 3.75 and move it to the employee benefit fund and raise the employee benefit mill levy, it can wash out that way. But if you want to leave the 3.75 where it is and increase the employee benefit fund, the difference in that mill is going to either raise the mill levy or have to be reduced from one of the city's benefit funds, more than likely the general fund.
And I know our employee benefit mill rate has fluctuated. I mean, it's gone up and down over years, over time. I know it didn't increase for many years, but at least as long as I've been here, because we always had a surplus in that. So the fund itself, or the mill rate, has remained very, very stable for at least since 2014. It hasn't gone up. Because that we had a significant surplus that we were spending down.
Last year was the first year you saw that significant increase in the employee benefits fund when it went from below 0.9 to 1.229. And that reflected spending down their large reserves, which the commission directed over the years. So then you started to see the trail. And there have been there increases, in the library's composition that has driven prices up, or costs up, just like everywhere else.
Do you have a recommendation, Paul?
Yeah, that's what I was about to, no, not right now.
It's a commission decision.
Okay.
Taking it up to 326 from where it is right now, would it involve a 0.41 mil increase?
I don't want to increase the mill levy.
No.
You guys got any ideas on how to work some magic? Melanie or Brent? Ruby or Brandon?
The only options that we have are the ones that we've already talked about. We can either increase the mill, we can adjust the difference from the library general fund to the library employee benefit fund. If I were in that position, I would prefer the money to go to the general fund because I have more flexibility with it, but that's their call on how they have to do things. Or we raise the mill, or reduce reduce the levy in the city's general fund.
How many employees do you have, Matt?
I believe we have FTEs of 20.8.
Okay, 21 employees, and that's what you're budgeting for 2020.
Correct.
And when an employee leaves and you have to fill the position, how long some of those positions stay vacant?
It's usually at least, I would say the average is a month.
So,
It depends on the
and
type
how
of
many
position.
of the 21, so you'll have a vacancy of 1 month every time there's turnover. How many positions turn over normally?
We've had fairly frequent turnover the last several years.
So out of the
4 or
21,
5.
what do you think you'll have, 5, 8 turnover?
We're hoping none. The average is about 4 to 5 a year.
Okay, so then you have 4 or 5 months of no employee benefits, so you factor that in, and it's not gonna make up that whole difference, but,
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna, make a decision right now. Is there any way that we can come?
We gotta make a decision,
You say
don't we?
do?
By wrap up. which
By
would be in
tomorrow.
November.
Yeah, I'd say later.
I wouldn't mind seeing it, and I hear what you're saying, and I can follow it, but I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of, kind of doing the math, and just let us look at it in writing, and then, because I'm not really excited about a mill levy increase. On the other hand, I want, the library to be able to meet its
gotta be,
requirements.
yeah.
So I can't make a decision
We can,
right now at 122 on the 11th.
Let's
So-
talk about it in our discussion at the end. We do
Yeah.
that.
And I know that our mill rate has been set at 375 since 1986, so it's been over 30 years. I would hate to see, again, the general fund money that is really intended to provide that's our library program, that's our pay, that's our books, that's our insurance, that's our bills. I would hate to see that money decreased, again, because we're already spending more than that, to keep those things alive. The amount of money we're spending isn't solely going to pay employees, it's to pay for increased cost of insurance, for increased cost of maintenance, for increased cost of online services and materials. So all of the things that we do for the public is supported from those revenues.
Yeah, so we revisit it, wrap up
Just
session.
think, you've done it in your head, just put it in writing and then maybe some
Okay.
little pros and cons, and then it'll give us time to think about it tonight and make a good decision rather than right now. I mean, that's me. So-
I agree. We have to,
Right,
we have to
right,
make a
right, right,
decision, but
right.
let's look at all the options, how we can move the money and play with the money.
Sounds good.
So Matt, you're out of time.
That's what I figured.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right,
We're 4 minutes over.
4 minutes over.
I'm glad I got you after lunch, not right before. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Matt.
Computer died. Hold on, let me,
So,
that's it.
I was gonna say,
There's no way to.
They're just,
yes, I think so. Yeah, that's what I'm talking to, that's one.
don't stress on it right now. We'll- I mean, there's always gotta be something, right? And it was going pretty smoothly, but that's just the way life works.
That was the whole, we didn't hear nothing else.
No, we stick in our own economic development, just use the team.
They're kind of stacked like that, Nancy.
Okay. Yes, I thought you already were.
No, okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hello,
Hi.
Ms. Pittman.
How is everybody?
How are you doing?
Long day. Welcome.
How are you? I know.
Position.
I've been hiding.
Did you know you used to work for GW?
In college, I used to work for GW. And Gina, very
I just found out who his dad was,
Oh, you did?
the legend, oh, boy.
That's right there.
Oh,
I
man.
think it goes in here.
Good afternoon. We'll try and move right along, so we're not holding anybody up. Leavenworth Main Street, you all know Holly, our board president, I think.
For
Everybody
now.
knows Holly. So, we start out with economic development. It's a pretty significant part of what we do. Sometimes it looks like we just do events and activities, but really that's just a small portion. We really take it personally with economic development. We make those personal relationships and provide as many resources as we can. I have had 46 meetings with entrepreneurs and small businesses year to date. 10 of those businesses found a location downtown through working together. Other projects are still in the works, and there's still several pretty major projects going on. We maintain an available properties list, and right now, we have a new ERC committee, and so this is a Word document. They're working on a whole new format that will be easier to utilize. And so we're excited that, that will happen. I'm familiar downtown, but lots of times the folks that are coming in don't really understand the different types of areas. So we do that. We also maintain this listing of all businesses that are downtown. The highlighted ones in green are Main Street investors, the others are not, but it's a full, vibrant downtown. So we have that available. We do the business guide, we do a shopping and dining guide. Our business guide lists all of our investors. The shopping and dining gives a brief description and a map of things that are down. These are very popular with CVB, with the chamber, with groups that are coming in. Merchants have these. We also do, it varies. This is 26 and 28. That means we have 28 blocks downtown. There's 26 eateries. Many people don't realize that. And so that's a valuable tool that the merchants, we print those and have available to them. Let's see. Those are the things, the resources that we provide, obviously, the professional consultations, referring them to Taylor and to Steve Jack and other entities. We provide design assistance when folks are needing that. I was very active in the boot camp with Grow Leavenworth County. I sit on that board as well, and obviously speak to you all. We are part of the National Main Street Organization. Kansas Main Street is coming back. They're in the process of hiring a director right now, and so we work closely with the KU SBDC. Will Katz is generally here on Thursdays, and Missouri Main Street as well, and Network Kansas.
Has the membership increased from last year?
Well, we're kind of, we have gained another institutional, Frontier Community Credit Union joined this year. So that's increased. Our general membership, we're at 163. I didn't compare that to last year. Generally, when you look at our pro forma budget, I don't think business investors hit 165 every year. We strive for that. So, and 163 is all of our investors combined.
It seems to rotate as some don't come back, we have some come on, so it seems pretty steady.
Yeah, we've had several businesses that closed, but we have steadily gained new businesses. I think we had 2 on our report this month and 3 on our report last month. So, yeah, I met the new folks that are gonna open a seafood restaurant last night, and kind of catty-cornered from City Hall, where the nail tip used to be. And I wondered if it was the resource you were talking to, but they said not. Their last name is West?
No, ma'am, this one was a catfish
Okay.
restaurant.
Are they still looking for a place?
They still are,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
All right, well,
So what's the name of the business?
well, he didn't give the name of the business, I don't think.
Just seafood.
Seafood.
Restaurant.
Crab legs.
Will I go this
Use
way?
the arrows or the mouse. You'll probably have
You're
to
gonna have to
click.
get off that, you're on the, punch in the
Use the mouse.
middle.
Okay, so 2 fairly significant projects that we've been instrumental in from the beginning. We've worked with Renee at Karma Cakes. She's been wanting to expand for quite a while, and she had several locations she was looking at. We're really excited our location she picked. That was a location that had some empty storefronts for quite a while. 2 of them generally were rented. It really needed some repair on the outside, and so you know, we've been a partner on that all the way through. We have an IWW loan with her, have provided her a lot of resources. It was exciting to go in the upper story and the main level to see the historic character that she will retain. Historic preservation is really high on our list. It's part of the Main Street approach. It's near and dear to my heart, and I think it's really valuable to the first city of Kansas. The other projects are 2 buildings in the 600 block of Cherokee, and we've worked with ARI on those buildings. That block is an excellent block, right across from Haymarket, and for too long, it has had some vacant properties, or not the greatest properties, but we're excited that the Thai noodle shop will be coming in, and that's a whole new commercial kitchen that's being built. Total renovation, and at 610 Cherokee is the First City Cheese Market, and they have a lot of retail experience. They don't have a lot of restaurant or cheese experience, but I believe that that's going to be a real hit. Those are popular things with charcuterie boards, and you know, I read about locations that have 100 type of pickles or 100 type of jams and those kind of things. So I think it'll be fun. She'll have a soda pop shop in it as well. So those are exciting projects. We work right alongside the people that are working on the buildings, and there's many other small and large projects that are in the works.
Now, the Karma Cakes, that's like on 5th Street across from Lee's.
Yep.
And when does the project, when do they think they're gonna be finished?
October-ish.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yes,
They
we
were
did a lot of
painting
work.
10 ceilings
Yeah.
yesterday, and I see there's some core drilling going
Okay.
on.
She had a solid business plan, I mean, she knows what
Yeah.
she's doing.
Yeah, good,
She's-
great.
This is her 3rd expansion. She used to be out on 4th Street. There was a pawn shop, or maybe it wasn't a pawn shop then, an event center. Kind of by McDonald's in that
What-
area.
What's her name?
Renee should put,
Okay,
now it's Lemons.
okay.
And so then she moved to her location. We helped her secure that location several years ago, and now she's purchasing this building. So, this is just a breakdown. Pretty much our budget remains the same as far as percentages. Our budget was probably down a little bit from last year, from what we provided you as a pro forma in 2000 and, for 18. We didn't have our gala that we normally have. It just kind of didn't happen, and our barbecue weekend was a really, really rainy one, and we had to cancel the band on Friday night. It was so bad, and so, you know, Mother Nature controls what happens, but we know that we're leveraging your investment in our organization at a minimum of 5 times over, and providing a lot of volunteer labor. There's a program that we utilize, and Myron asked me to kind of go over this one, the IWW. It's called Incentive Without Walls. It was developed through the Department of Commerce back when Kansas Main Street was formed in 1985. When Leavenworth Main Street was implemented in 1995, they started participating in that program. And so at that time, you would have a project come through, you would write the application, submit it to Kansas Main Street, they would review it, and sometimes they would grant part of it, sometimes it was loans. It's always been a no-interest loan program. So through the years, the loans have amounted to $228,780, and that is 25 loans. And they granted $103,349, which was 11 grants. So that totaled $332,129. We continue to utilize that program. When Kansas Main Street went away, the Department of Commerce allows us to continue that revolving loan fund. And we do a memo of agreement annually with them and report on that. So that's been really positive. It's really gap funding. So they need to have a bank loan in place. And then this is the gap to make the project move forward. Currently, we have 4 active loans. Those total $75,000, and that return annually on those loan repayments is $13,000. We funded everything from roofing to brick repair to a sewer project that didn't just go in the ground. It had to go up from the basement over the second floor, back down, and into the sewer. So it was a complicated project. Obviously, business growth and expansion, and facade and interior renovations. Questions on that one? Are you just cooking this down? So there's many benefits with the partnership between Main Street and the city. We do the Banner of Honor program that's on the Delaware Streetscape, and this year we just went out for renewals, and I believe Marley told me we had about 12 spaces for new banners. So generally they buy a banner the first year, it's $200. They receive a nice spiral bound booklet with a picture and bio of all of the veterans, and then they're hung the entire year. They can come back for renewal the next year at $100. They can provide a new picture if they want. Some choose not to. And so that's really gaining popularity, and we're really talking about we may only be able to allow 1 renewal to allow those slots to open up. We also do the pole banner program throughout the 28 blocks downtown. With Westar changing the poles out, it's a little challenging because they have some really strict guidelines as far as size of the banner and the height that they can be hung. And so the banners are a little smaller this round, and we found that some trucks are hitting the brackets, and so as we have to change them out, we're moving them to the side, over the sidewalk as opposed to over the street. We provide the American flags on Delaware Memorial Day through Veterans Day, and we have volunteers that put those up. We host the VIP reception after the Veterans Day parade, and we're working on really diligently on public art because we know that that brings a lot of folks downtown. They remember oh, you know, this was a really cool downtown, we've got all these things going, and we go to the Preservation Commission in August to present the mural for the east side of the Main Street building. It's a huge side, it'll cover the entire 2-story plus the 1-story.
The photo, it's gonna be fabulous, it's gonna be amazing.
Well, I don't have the rendering
Oh.
yet, I have a,
Look like,
well, I just have a sketch that our design team kind of put together, but it will be similar to some of the historic postcards or the postcards that folks see. So it will be Leavenworth, explore Leavenworth. The rendering is really small. If you want to pass that around, you can. That's not from the artist, that's just from our design team. But it'll say explore Leavenworth. Every other letter will have a scene appropriate to Leavenworth, be it a soldier saluting, a buffalo, a historic facade of a building. There'll be a train, railroad theme in it.
it's gonna have a selfie station in it.
Yeah,
It's gonna be pretty large, right? That's a
Yeah,
pretty large
very
yes,
wall.
yes,
Takes up the whole 2-story
Yeah.
building.
yes.
But, you know, Stacy at Candle Queen's her wings and things do such a great job, and so we'll kind of copy her great concept and do a hashtag and get people down here taking pictures in front of us, which creates a social marketing buzz to get people downtown.
Cool.
So I think it's gonna be a win-win. We're also talking about hiding little things in it, like little mice or whatever, so people can make it a game. And so hide and seek within it for kids or families to do. So I think it's gonna be a great attraction for the downtown.
It's kind of been a project that's been in the
Yeah.
works for a couple of years.
Just
We
looking at this,
have
looking at
been
the
saving
budget, that's
money.
what we're here for to talk about, right?
Second.
That's what I thought.
Well, the budget, this is what our money's, some of our
I
money's
know,
going
we have
to
regular,
towards.
Yeah, but
And we don't get an update very often, so.
Is there an annual report?
Okay.
Well, I did have a question about the wayfinding
we have
signs.
an annual
Uh-huh.
report.
Yeah, was there a date?
Well, I talked to Ann, we got an email, Paul, do you remember that email? I copied it. We got a date back, an email, and I reviewed it and said, well, we probably need to take a look at that. I'm not sure that the city responded, so,
Last time I
May
talked to,
15th?
the last time I talked to Ian, we were waiting on a time to go out and look at the
Okay.
locations. So if you wanna set that up, and
Okay.
we'll be there,
Okay.
whenever that's.
So I can pass this around if you want. This was what she sent, and it had arrows, and she wasn't sure about the arrows. We can
We
go
can
out
meet,
and
we
do
can
that.
meet at each site, one by one.
Okay.
Just pick a morning and we'll go
Those
out.
are
All right.
The wayfinding.
Yeah, the wayfindings. Just get I think that's the best thing, is just get all three of us out to each of the
Yep.
signs and check them off one by one.
Okay.
We still have the funding in the transient guest tax whenever it's ready.
And the funding for our mural isn't coming out of our general fund. We've applied for 2 CDB grants, and that money is earmarked for that. I will be applying again in the second round of this year, that is August 1st. So, and then we have some public art money that was personally donated by folks. So that's kind of how that works. Hopefully you've seen the new mural on the Jamaican Island Spice Jamaican restaurant. You know, he's making a splash with that.
That was nice.
You know, we will encourage, everybody's art won't be as large as ours, but even little pop-up things are fun. Paul at Surf Pro they're considering a mural on the side of Surf Pro, and so, you know, sculpture, pocket parks, interactive things are all part of that whole public art concept. So.
Good.
The partnerships, and I think you got the bylaws today, and Carla got the bylaws with the city-appointed folks. We continue to do a lot of destination-based marketing. We've spent $26,400 since last year this time. And we're currently going to be talking to FMWR to see about a sponsorship with them. We've done that one other time. It was an in-kind sponsorship. We're going to look at maybe Main Street bucks, so they recirculate downtown as our sponsorship. So, any questions on that slide?
Might just talk about budget, I think we have budget questions.
Okay, budget? Oh, I missed that. Is that what we're supposed to talk about?
Yes.
Just the budget? Oh,
So
sorry.
you're doing fine.
Okay,
You're doing
fine.
All right.
You're fine.
How can I answer
Do we-
questions?
Yeah. We have a current financial statement. I mean, I see the budget here. I don't see a financial statement from,
I didn't bring one.
okay.
It is matched, I'll say it's from the economic development portion of the countywide sales tax fund is where the
Okay.
amount comes from. It's currently budgeted, at the request of Main Street at 32,
right?
32, yeah.
32,000, okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
all we
It's on
needed to
page
know.
35.
Yeah, of the operating budget.
What'd you say about
I didn't think it
35?
was in the
It's on
book.
page
There it is.
35.
We didn't increase by $2,000, Mark.
I don't hear real well, and I just, okay.
Yeah, it's line 3045, 6637.
How do, question on budget, how do you build a reserve, Wendy? If I see your income's 109, call it 200,000, your expense is exactly to the penny 200,000, 198, 150. So do you have a reserve, or is it,
Yeah, we don't have a balance sheet either, so.
I'm sorry?
I said we don't have a balance sheet.
Yeah, I know,
to look at,
but
so-
I've just seen this income and expenses, and this, your budget for next year, it does, you know, you will spend every nickel that you come in, so it doesn't build a you don't build a reserve?
Well, we don't have a lot to build a reserve with. If we have anything, it stays in a money market account. Generally, we don't have that. And this budget, generally, we don't meet that $198,000. And then as we go through the year, we adjust our expenses down so that we generally are within our income and expense at the same amount.
So
But
it
I
would be
will,
good at a budget hearing if we had a full financial
Okay.
statement from you.
all right, I will.
But I'm
With
just
the- with the
asking, so
balance
you don't
sheet.
budget, trying to get slowly build a reserve, whether it be 1% a year or whatever else? This one just, it does show that every nickel you have coming in, you've got to expense it. Okay.
It reinvests downtown.
Yeah.
We have 1.5 staff.
No,
Yeah,
well, I am pleasantly surprised that your concert series, you actually make a profit on that. You sell that much beer there to make a profit, or
well, we have sponsorships that
the
cover the band
sponsorships
costs.
and the beer?
And then we sell beer and soda and
No.
water, and
No, I
Saturday
know.
night we'll have wine as well.
I always thought that was a lost leader for you. But it's-
no,
it
that's
does
part of
make
our
you $1,200
fundraising.
$1,300
We're out schlepping whatever it takes to come in the black.
Good job.
You know, we have different projects, like the historic playing cards. We had those one year, a couple years they were budgeted, and the volunteer just didn't make that happen. And so, you know, we're hoping this year it will happen. They've been a popular item. We have a new fundraiser that we're excited about. It's a scooter raffle. Where is it at?
Fundraising for Main Street's always a good challenge. It's not kids,
You've got
it's
a
not
copy
puppies.
of this in your packet.
People want to know what we do, so by things like concert series and selling beer and that sort of thing, that's really the only way we bring in added income, or the banner sales, but most of that goes to BFW. But I think it's important to note in this time of economic development in the state or in the county having struggles, especially with Tyson and the sand pit and things that are going on now, or transportation, downtown is growing. Winnie's constantly talking to people, she's getting new people in there, she's getting new stores in there, we're getting cheese shops and Latino, so I think that's important that the county may not be having struggles with economic development, but I think downtown is really still thriving and doing well, and we're getting new stores, which is exciting, because it brings
So
people
too,
downtown.
It looks great downtown. I mean, you
Yep.
walk around down there and you see all these new
It's
new
great,
places
and
coming
it's
up.
fun, and,
That's
you know, it's not perfect, I mean, people still complain that, you know, they close at 5, and they get off at 5, but.
But you're always gonna get somebody.
But we're always gonna get that, and we're still always working on and promoting and getting people downtown and working with all the businesses downtown.
Well, and part of the, you know, the promotions part of Main Street is to actually come up with those promotions so that you get folks on the street, you get them directly to the door of the merchant, sometimes inside the door. Sometimes they're just, like the concert series is let people know we have a downtown.
Right.
We're not getting them to the merchants, but like the Alive After Fives, the Build a Bouquet, those are bringing people right into those merchants. And then it's up to them to have a fantastic experience within their store to bring them back. But, you know, we've really beefed up the amount of promotions that we do. They're always listed on the back of the business and the shopping guide. You know, our Facebook and our social media is pretty vibrant. And so it takes a lot in today's world to keep them from just sitting at home and going to Amazon or wherever. And we know that they're coming for experiences. I'm sure Christy, you know, knows that as well. And
Sure.
they want fun experiences. And we're talking about in promotions, putting together some experience packages as well. So anyway, it's a well-rounded program. We try and utilize all 4 principles of the Main Street approach.
And we appreciate your commitment to Main
We
Street.
do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Any other budget questions?
No? Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Wendy, thank you.
Tell Mr. Jeff I said what I, Holly. Tell Jeff I said what I.
Thank you.
The next one, we have 10 minutes before we get to Steve, which is plenty of time just to do the city's internal economic development, which is on page 35. You'll see the 2020 proposed for 26,510. That's the same number you saw in the CIP. We just transfer that to the operating fund and operate it out of the operating fund. Full-time is a portion of Taylor, and then his allocated or proportional benefit costs. LCDC and Main Street are out of that budget. Grant payments are all of our facade and all that kind of stuff. Taylor, what's all in other professional services?
Part of that is
66.99.
CPAC.
You know, CPAC is out of that. We have, next year is the last year on CPAC, that's $50,000. I mentioned that, the other night. And we are, $40,000 last year was when we, purchased the property at 3rd in Delaware. We are getting to the point where we're developing a little bit of a reserve in there, so we can maybe, take some more steps like that a little bit out of the box. We don't want to get in the business of owning land, but in certain circumstances, maybe using some of those dollars. We had offered to help the LCDC with candid marketing, but they use their reserves to do that, so that kind of stuff. Marketing is a perfectly appropriate use. Business and Technology Park, you know, we hired Zimmer to do that, and we've done some stuff out there, put some materials together. But that park has a little bit of surplus of funds, so we don't need these dollars. So we do have a little bit of flexibility, just for the commission's knowledge in that fund.
What spiked in 2019 in professional services, kicked it up to 179?
That's an estimate line, and that's not correct, so,
That, you don't think that estimate's correct?
no.
Okay.
As you'd see, we eliminated all the estimate columns,
we-
so.
That one I missed.
Okay, okay.
So just
No
take
problem,
over
no
that
problem,
estimate
no
column.
problem.
Right,
No, the only thing that comes out of that is the CPAC
Right,
deal.
right.
I don't have anything else budgeted in
The
there.
50 grand for the CPAC, for the parking lot, the CPAC, what are we talking about?
No, CPAC is the property on the VA.
Yeah, the parking lot.
No, it's the incentive to the Pioneer Group, the original one for bringing CPAC to that building. It's an employment-based incentive.
Okay.
That we,
Oh, okay,
LCDC and
right.
the county each pay $50,000 a year for reaching certain employment goals.
Okay, and I thought that they used it all for
Oh,
the
they
parking
may
lot.
have,
I
yeah,
thought, yeah,
it's not tied to the parking lot, it's
yeah,
tied to
but
employment.
they
That may
used
have
it
what
bill.
they said,
Yeah,
yeah,
they-
part of the cost,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Come on up.
hey, just real quick, on
Yes.
3rd and Delaware, is there anything, any,
I have talked to a local business owner who's interested in the property and, but no, our original one sort of ran out. But a local business.
3rd and Delaware, I just was asking, since that's part of the money, so.
Kevin.
Yeah, he's out, the guy that we had.
Great.
Welcome.
Worked with is out.
It's coming in on 4th Street, Paul.
What's that?
It's coming in that whole side on 4th Street.
I'll tell you offline. So I instructed Steve that this was just to talk about his budget. Steve does his reports to the commission, so the number, the slight increase is just based on the formula LCDC uses. of $49,055, so that's what's included in the economic development budget. Steve?
That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's right.
Great time.
And I've been doing presentations coming before you, used to be quarterly basis and now a couple times a year, plus this one. And I've never invited Lisa Hack. It is Jack Mack and Hack, by the way.
You've not heard that before, have you?
Yeah, that's a law firm. And I'm glad that we ran out of time because we were in Tonganoxie at an LCDC board meeting. And so we just came by and there was no time to drop her off, but it was
She's
fortuitous
always
because she
welcome.
needs to, you need to.
She's
know
better
what
looking
she's
than
doing.
you anyway, Steve.
Exactly. So, but she represents on the years that we don't have that big VA CPAC project, 400 jobs, or a central bag, or a big expansion at Cereal Ingredients. Day in and day out, the value of LCDC really is grounded in what we do for existing businesses. And you all, as City of Leavenworth, have more of them than the rest of the county combined. There are more Cereal Ingredients and Great Westerns and Heatron and Hankey and Zephyr and the list doesn't go on and on, but the list is a pretty good list. And so about 6 years ago, we tried to quantify those savings to the companies that, at the time, Ashley, who had an accounting background, was providing in grant applications, high-performance incentive program incentives, training program funds from the state, and even where we have been a link with the Grow Leavenworth County, the Network Kansas, funding through the city initiative originally, as well as we call it the facade improvement grant, but it's the small
business development.
Thank
grant.
you. So we started to quantify that. And when we have been asked by those in the communities or at the county level, what are you doing for businesses, haven't seen a new business at the new industrial park, day in and day out, we're working with existing businesses, and that's Lisa. And so far, since 2014, in 2013, Port Authority made a contribution to the city of Tonganoxie to extend gas. But in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, we're up over $7 million of savings that we can quantify. I know where every penny saved to businesses are, and this year, the 6th year that we're in the middle of, it's another, well, we talked about this, $500 million of savings, so we're at about $8 million right now. So we're happy to do that, and most EDCs don't do that. Most EDCs, traditional, we call them BRE, Business Retention Expansion Programs, every good economic development EDC council, commission, entity has an existing business program, BRE program. Typically what they do is they identify barriers to growth or opportunities to save jobs, so retention, expansion, and then get connected with Taylor at the city, get connected with Jim at the state, or Betty at the State of Kansas Department of Commerce. And then we walk away and move on to the next one. 5 years ago, we started to actually help write the grants. And what that does is it really can identify and measure, give you something measurable that you can tell your constituents what we're doing for the business community. So now, that being said, there's going to be an overlap of what Lisa does and what I do with trying to hit the home runs with these big companies. There are 3 companies that are currently here that we've had discussions with on and off for a year or 2 about expansion plans. And so just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, Paul and I and Paul Taylor and I have had lunches with some of those companies, and so we're very excited about the potential for internal growth with these existing companies. In addition, Paul mentioned the marketing plan. We have, if you go to the LCDC website, you'll see on the home page, the very first page, but scroll down, and in Leavenworth, it'll have the Gary Carlson Business Park and a link to a PDF for the new business park. Click on the Gary Carlson Park, and there will be a link on the PDF that will take you to a YouTube video channel that has a drone video of Gary Carlson from the sky looking over it, and then it dissolves into 3D renderings where the buildings, a 30,000 square foot building, a 100,000 square foot building, fall down onto the property. And we have done that for the new business park, and that really will give you an example of what it could look like in the future when we've got a 250,000 square foot building, a 350,000 square foot building, 50, 20, 20, 20, and 50. So we're still tweaking the Leavenworth business renderings and drone videos, but we have all the raw footage and we're just putting those together. So we appreciate the partnership and the strong commitment that Paul and the elected officials and Taylor and everybody we work with the city has been a joy to work with. So anyway, I'll shut up now. I was just going to say we just need $49,000. Anyway, I'm in presentation mode today, so thanks.
Any questions? No?
Nothing?
Good job.
Okay,
You did good.
Perfect.
that's dangerous.
You're in presentation mode, you hit every angle.
Okay, good, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You wanna take 5?
Yeah, that's good.
Just take 5.